Hey there, year 8. So this example here, we're going to be doing multiplications of fractions, but involving negative numbers here. So hopefully you revise when you're adding and subtracting negative numbers, that you remember the chart. Double positives is going to give you overall positive, double negative will give you positive, and if they're different, it will give you a negative. Okay, so you're going to need to remember this chart here. All right, now that chart will apply differently with multiplication division. It'll feel different. It will feel different than addition subtraction. So here we go. We're going to do this example here where we're doing 2/3 times the negative of 4/5. Okay, so you can see here that this is my multiplication. So that's my question. Okay, so you write down your question. Here we go. We're going to go method. So method, I always double check, and I encourage you to keep checking numerator and denominator. Are there common factors? So have a look. 2, is there a common factor with 3 and 5? In this case here, I'm comparing the 2 and the 3. And no, there aren't any common factors there. Then I check the 2 and the 5. No common factors there. Then I try, okay, well, what about I now check out 4? Are there common factors with the denominators where I have 5, 4 and 5, no common factors there. And then I check out 3. What about 4 and 3? No common factors there. Remember, you can't do comparison between 2 and 4. That doesn't work, okay? Because remember, the reason why all this works is because of equivalent fractions. And with equivalent fractions, you need a top number and a bottom number. That's why, okay? So, looks like this is as simplified as you can get. So how do you multiply fractions? We multiply them by numerator and denominator by denominator. So here in our next intermediate step, I don't want you to write just the answer as -8/15. Okay, because that's what 2 times -4 is, and then 3 times 5. I want you to actually write the intermediate step, which is 2 times -4 all over 3 times 5. This is to help you remember there's a difference between adding and multiplying. Okay, so with adding, you don't add the denominators, whereas in multiplication, you do multiply the denominators. Okay, so if you're sort of confused why this happens, I do try to explain it in my previous video in exercise 3B. Have a look at my class video. I try to explain why that occurs. Okay, but here we go. So all we have to do was do 2 times -4. Now 2 times 4 is 8, and then this is where you use your chart. So notice this is a +2 because there's no negative sign there, and this is a -4. So a positive and a negative, we look up here, we know that a positive and a negative will give you an overall negative. That's why I have a negative overall sign over there. Okay, so that's the difference between multiplication and addition, where addition you actually go with a number line. Here you don't really use a number line. Okay, let's do another example. I'm going to do B here. So B, the question is -6/5 multiplied to -3/4. Same thing again. Before I go to the next step, I check, are there any common factors? So I have a look at 6 and 5. No common factors of 6 and 5. But what about 6 and 4? Yes, there is. There is a common factor of 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times there. So I'm going to rewrite it now. 2 goes into -6. Notice there's that negative, so it's going to be -3/5. So I know sometimes students get confused. Is the negative on the outside of the 6, or is it -6? It's quite interchangeable. If it helps you, you can treat it as negative and then just work with a 6 and 5, but just going to remember there's that sort of bracket around it. I normally like to rewrite it as -6 / 5. That is the same as writing -6/5. Same thing. Okay, it's just there's a different notation there, whether negatives in the numerator or whether negatives in the denominator. When you write it like this, the negative is neither. It's not in the numerator or denominator. It is negative of whatever 6 divided by 5 is. Okay, so I'm just clarifying that detail there for you. So here I like to combine it. So -6 divided by 2 is -3. And then over here, I still have times. It's still -3. And then it's 4 divided 2, which is 2. Okay, so 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into -6, -3 times. So my next line here, I can now do multiplication of the numerators and denominators. So top number with top number, bottom number with bottom numbers. And remember, I want you to write the intermediate step. So it's -3 times -3 all over 5 times 2. So that gives me a final answer of 5 times 2 is 10 in the denominator. 3 times 3 is 9 in the numerator. And the double negatives, okay, so the double negatives here, negative, negative, we know that it gives you an overall positive. So the answer is a positive 9 on 10. Okay? So that's how you would do example 8 for multiplying with negative fractions. So I can see why once students get really good at this, they tend to mix it up with addition, subtraction. So be careful with the difference between the two.